Back then, everything hit different. The nights were longer, the laughs were louder, and love felt like something we didn't have to think about. It just lived in us. I remember when we didn't eat much to feel full. A late night drive with the windows cracked, a cheap meal. Playlist that stayed on repeat, and the way you look at me, like the whole world was sitting in the passenger seat. Life was simple then, soft, golden, and I didn't even know it. I didn't know those moments would turn into memories I spent years trying to get back to. I think about how we used to talk about everything, dreams we were too scared to say out loud, fears we tried to laugh off, promises we made without knowing how heavy they become. You used to lean into me like my presence was the safest place you knew, and I used to breathe easier just knowing you were there. Back then, love wasn't complicated, it wasn't broken, it wasn't bruised, it was pure, it was ours, and it hit different. Some days I try to pretend I've outgrown it, like I moved past the version of me that loved you with no guard or no hesitation, no fear. But the truth is I miss who we were before life taught us how to protect ourselves, before we learned how to hide our hearts, before we started loving with conditions. I miss the way you'd smile at me like you saw something in me I didn't see in myself. I miss the way we didn't know how fragile we were. I miss the way we didn't know we were living in the good days until they were gone. Now everything feels heavier, colder, quieter. I've met people who tried to love me, but it never felt like you. Not because they weren't enough, but because they weren't us. They didn't know the version of me that still believed in forever. They didn't know the version of me that didn't flinch when someone got too close. They didn't know the boy who loved without fear. You did, and that's why back then hit different. I still replay the moments, the way your hand fit in mine, the way your voice softened when you were tired, the way you fall asleep on my chest like you trusted me with your whole world. Those memories don't fade, they settle, they stay, they whisper, and sometimes they hurt, but sometimes they heal. Cause even though we didn't last, what we had was real, and real doesn't disappear, it just becomes a part of you. If I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing. Not the love, not the lessons, not the heartbreak, because back then shaped me. Then taught me how deep I could feel. Back then showed me what connection could look like before the world complicated it. And even though we're not who we were, and even though life took us in different directions, I still carry the warmth of those days like a light I can't put out. Back then it different, and maybe it always will. Not because I want it back, but because it taught me what love could be before I knew what losing it felt like. And that kind of memory, it never leaves, it just lives in the quiet places of your heart, reminding you of who you were, who you loved, and who you're still becoming.